Hello and welcome to this Sunday edition of today's Heartlifter with Janell. I am Janell and I'm so glad that you have found your way here. I'm calling this the State of the Heart podcast. We're closing out season 11, which is truly remarkable. And we started this season with that word, remarkability. And we asked ourselves that very important question, and we've been holding that question before us throughout this season. What are we remarking in our lives, both positively and negatively? Or we could say, what are we remarking in a healthy way in our life that we're proud of? Or what are we remarking in our life that perhaps is unhealthy? Maybe we have unbridled anger. Maybe we are binging too much Netflix. I don't know, you fill in the blank. For me, I have been focusing on the unhealthy remarking in my life of comparing myself with others. Yeah, with the social media influencers in my face every day, it's real easy to think less of myself or to think I'm not doing enough or I need to do more. But as our great Father in heaven would have it, He has brought guests to the podcast in this season that have revealed and invited me, and boy, do I hope they have done the same for you, into a deeper understanding of how much God loves me and how much He loves you. And I have been hanging on the words of Lacey Finn Borgo as she invited us to understand that God did not create us to use us up. He did not create us just to make us work and be productive. He actually created us because He simply loves us and wants to spend time with us. And that has been revealed to me in a very up close and personal way with my two grandchildren who live quite far away from me. But when I see them on FaceTime, which thanks be to God for the positive effects of the digital world that we live in, I can have FaceTime with them. The minute their face pops onto my screen, I am just filled with joy from the top of my head to the soles of my feet. And it has made me realize that that must be how God, our Father in heaven, feels when we FaceTime Him. Oh, I know you might think I'm stretching it, but I don't think I am. I think it brings such great joy to God our Father when we FaceTime Him. I do. And that is why He created us, to commune with Him in the morning, the noon, and the night. So this summer, giving you a little pre-game show, this summer is going to be a contemplative summer. We're going to delve into spiritual formation, spiritual growth, which is our ultimate goal here. We focus on that threefold cord of emotional and mental health, a healthy sense of self, healthy behavior patterns, and healthy communication skills. And we earnestly meet as a community so that those practices will be operative in our life so that we can ultimately be spiritually mature. When they are in place and when they are practiced, we can move forward and really experience spiritual growth in exponential ways. So this summer, I want to give attention, and I'm drawing guests in for us that will help us on that journey into a more contemplative life. Once again, focusing on those disciplines of stillness, silence, and solitude. I know they're difficult. They're difficult for me. And so I'm bringing them into my life so that I can give them more attention, so that I can once again visit an unhurried life, a slower, more well-paced life. I would love to hear from you. I know I ask you this a lot, but this time, would you consider letting me know what you want to know more about? What do you want to hear more about? What do you want to learn more about? Just email me your questions, thoughts, comments to Janell, at janellreardon.com or hop over to Instagram at Janell Reardon. Leave me a DM there, and I will be putting all of your names into a big, lovely hat and choosing a couple winners for some lovely gifts from season 11. I am so excited and eager to hear from you all. We're closing out season 11 with a bang. We have part 1 and part 2 with Nijay Gupta, author of Tell Her Story, How Women Led, Taught, and Ministered in the Early Church. He writes, "Women were there. For centuries, discussions of early Christianity have focused on male leaders in the church. But there is ample evidence right in the New Testament that women were actively involved in ministry at the frontier of the gospel mission and as respected leaders. Nijay Gupta calls us to bring these women out of the shadows by shining light on their many inspiring contributions to the planting, growth, and health of the first Christian churches. He sets the context by exploring the lives of first century women and addressing common misconceptions, then focuses on the women leaders of the early churches as revealed in Paul's writings. When we understand the world in which Jesus and his followers lived, which Heartlifters, that is what we're doing here. I want to understand that world in which Jesus and his followers lived, moved, and had their being, and what the New Testament actually attests about women in the churches. It becomes clear that women were active participants and trusted leaders all along. They were welcomed by Paul and other apostles. They were equipped and trained for ministry, leadership, instructed others, traveled long distances, and were imprisoned. Yes, and once in a while became heroes and giants. The New Testament writers tell their stories. It's time for the church to retell them again and again. My conversation with Nijay, really, truthfully, was a milestone marker in my spiritual journey. I kept having to pause because his words were piercing into the deepest part of my soul and emboldening me. Yeah, big word, emboldening me, giving me courage, giving me a boldness that I have been actually trying to push back and repress in my life. And the weeks following my interviews with him, my conversation with Nijay, were really life-changing. I just can't wait to tell you what birthed in my life during that time. But it was very, very, very special. And I think you are going to just be so touched and so moved. And we are going to be building a company of women in new and mighty ways in the days to come. I'd like to close our State of the Heart today with a centering prayer, just inviting you into centering prayer. We've talked about this once or twice, but we will be talking more about it in our Contemplative Summer series. I would just like you to find a quiet place to sit and relax. Put yourself in the presence of a loving God. Yeah, let's dial up a FaceTime with God and wrap yourself in gratitude. If you don't have these feelings at this moment, pray for them as you continue. Maybe just look up and look around and find something to be grateful for. Take either a centering word like Jesus, peace, peace, be still, or read a few passages from the Bible or a spiritual book. I'm going to use 1 John 4:16, this season's mantra. So we have come to know and to believe the love that God has for us. And you can make that personal. So I have come to know and to believe the love that God has for me. And you'll just repeat that several times, as many times as you want. And then just sit with the spirit of what you have read or quietly repeated. Just sit in that presence. If you have become aware of anything else or are distracted, Just let the issue move through your mind and out. If it persists, then hand it over to God, rather than preoccupying yourself with it, which, after all, serves no purpose. Sit quietly like this with God, in love. Feel the presence of love. Feel it. Let it engulf you for 10, 20 minutes. I don't know if you're just starting, just a minute. And then repeat this on a daily basis until we meet again.